we are going to go ahead and get started. Happy New Year to all of those that I have not said Happy New Year to yet, and then that's it for the Happy New Year's, okay? We're good. So first, we will have invocation, Tracy.
All right, welcome everybody to 2020.
Yes.
If you just bow your heads and join me in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for a new year, the new year of 2020, hopefully with great vision for not only our hospital district, but our community at large. Lord, help us to be wise and purposeful in all the different things that you put before us. Help us to show kindness, help us to be diligent, and help us utmostly do what is in the best interest of our community and keep it healthy for you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Michael?
Join me in. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As it's the first meeting of the new year, organizational matters, action required, so I will turn this over to Jennifer to run that. Thank you.
Okay, Happy New Year, everyone. The bylaws of the Indian River County Hospital District require that the district reorganize at the first meeting of each year and elect 5 officers. Any members may make a nomination of any of the 5 offices. The 5 offices to be voted on include chairman, vice chairman, secretary, assistant secretary, and treasurer. Each office will be elected by calling for nominations, a second, and a motion to close the nominations. So I will call nominations first for chairman.
Well, I'll nominate Mary Beth Cunningham.
I'll second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Motion to close the nomination?
So move.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, you are our chairman again, Mrs. Cunningham.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We'll call for a nomination for vice chairman now.
I would like to nominate Michael Weiss as vice chairman.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
And any discussion? Motion to close the nomination?
So move.
Okay, all in favor for Dr. Weiss to serve as the vice chairman?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Hearing none, Dr. Weiss, you'll be our vice chairman. I would like a nomination for our secretary now.
I'd like to nominate Anne Marie McChrystal, please.
Okay, is there a second to that nomination?
Second?
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to close the nomination.
So move.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of Anne Marie McChrystal as our secretary?
Aye.
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 Any opposition? Hearing none, Mrs. McChrystal, you are our secretary. We'll call for nomination for the assistant secretary now.
I nominate Tracy Zudans.
Okay, ask for a second, please.
Second.
Any discussion? Motion to close the nomination.
So move.
Second.
Okay, any opposition? Or I'm sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? All right, hearing none. Mrs. Zudans, you are the assistant secretary. And last but not least, we need a nomination for our treasurer.
I'll nominate Alan Jones.
Okay,
Second.
any discussion on the nomination? Motion to close the nomination.
So move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposition? Hearing none, Mr. Jones, you are our treasurer. And that will conclude the 2020 election for the hospital district. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you guys for also putting me back in the job. I appreciate that.
No, thank you.
One of the things we need to do is just confirm the frequency and the time of day of meetings and meeting location. Historically, we have met the 3rd Thursday at 5 o'clock for our regular monthly meeting. We generally meet Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock before that for our chairman's meeting, and the location for the chairman's is at the hospital district, and the location is here. Does anybody want to change any of that or have any need to change any of that?
Nope.
Hearing none, we will keep it the same.
Thank you.
Okay? Thank you. Moving into the consent agenda, I would like a motion for approval of the special meeting minutes dated December 9th, the chairman's meeting minutes dated December 18th, the regular monthly meeting minutes dated December 19th, and a January disbursement of, Mr. Jones?
$1,115,865.30.
Okay, I hear a motion?
So move.
Okay,
Second.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Again, I'd like to just welcome everybody to 2020, not only a new year, but a new decade for us. So a lot of opportunity ahead of us, which is very exciting. Just a couple things happening in the next few weeks around the community I want to make sure that everybody's aware of. On the January 25th, United Against Poverty has their grand opening of their brand new facility there, and I suggest if you haven't seen it, you should go see it. It really is going to be a gem in our community. And that is open to everybody starting at 9:30 in the morning on the 25th. Also, Ms. Alma Lee has reminded me that everybody should sign up and Speak Up Vero Beach. And you can go to www.speakupverobeach.com, and it is the discussion on the old power plant site and what we want. They really, really want residents' input into what that is. So.
They do have up on the website now the times and dates for the charrettes and the final meetings and tours. So that's a wealth of information.
Good, good. It's a really important thing for the future of Indian River County, so I suggest you do that. So I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of those two things. And that's it for me. District Council report, Jennifer?
Okay, this was a little bit shorter of a cycle, the way our dates fell this time with, I think the second of the month was a Thursday, so we haven't had as much time since the last meeting, plus holiday time. So it was a little bit quieter of a month. But Anne Marie Siriano and I have been working on the board's request to review your bylaws. We began that recently, and we'll have more to present to you on that probably at our next meetings next month. And hopefully be able to have those in place for you to review, to approve them shortly thereafter. Of course, I've worked and prepared to lead our administrative meeting tonight to elect officers and continue to review all monthly meeting minutes and articles, et cetera, that come across my desk related to the district. And I'm available to any of you for questions as they arise pertaining to our various district matters. Any questions? Thank you.
Our financial statement review, Mr. Jones.
Thank you. Well, as you might expect, we remained in sound financial shape. Through December 31st, our tax receipts totaled a little over $6.3 million of the 13.9 we expect to get for the year. So we're about 45% funded so far. Our total in our bank accounts and demand deposits is about $2.6 million. But in addition, we have a little over $11 million in FDIC insured investments managed by Walter Walker in the Florida Fixed Income Trust. In the month of December, these investments resulted in a little over $13,000 in interest, which is about 1.6% annualized. Not huge, but it's better than zero. Our long-term intention is to maintain at least $500,000 in the local bank demand deposits, and excess funds over that will be invested in the FDIC insured component of the Florida Fixed Income Trust, as I just mentioned. Amounts needed to fund the district's operating expenses will then be wired to the local bank to cover district operating expenses and obligations as necessary. We estimate this will result in an average balance in our local account of about $700,000, which in turn pays a small amount of interest of approximately 0.15. So we're doing better at 1.6 with the investments, so that's going well. Also, for the budget, we've done well. So through the first quarter, the district's running slightly better than budget in both program expenses and administrative expenses. So overall, we're slightly better than budget. Okay, that's it.
That's good. Any comment? It's a good way to start the year.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, Executive Director report, Anne Marie.
I submitted my written report, and I really don't have anything other to add to that has come up in the last couple of days. You're going to hear, we had a meeting with WeCare yesterday, but you're going to hear from them tonight, so I'll let them do their report.
Okay. We'll move right into the funded agencies. First, we have the Mental Health Association. We got the whole group.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
New Year.
So I know we have to be brief, so we'll try our best.
That's why I'm gonna let them talk.
Oh, I apologize for that.
How do we do it? Just wanted to go over the data, October through December. It's usually an odd time of year, the first quarter of our fiscal year because of the holidays and a lot of time off. We did transition some psychiatry, and now we have Dr. Jurgen starting January twice a week, so you're going to see psychiatry increase. So, you know, it's basically pretty average for us with the screenings and clients served, as well as diagnostic psychotherapies, case management. We're probably going to increase. We're seeing a lot more needs of people needing food stamps and different prescription assistance programs and things like that. So I think we're going to see an increase in that. And then the rest of it is the group therapies. We have a wellness and the psychoeducational class, our mindfulness class that we are continuously running because it's going very well. This one.
And then just to speak on program outcomes, you know, since 2007, we've been doing our walk-in screenings, and so we tried to have verified phone contact or in-person contact with those individuals. Sometimes they no longer have a working phone, or they don't have a phone, and we can't reach them, but everyone that we've reached, you know, 100% had remained safe within 48 hours of the intervention. And when we get to the satisfaction survey data too, it also shows how valuable that intervention is for the Indian River County community to prevent avoidable harm. As far as treatment outcomes for people that had their course of care with the Mental Health Association, we had a self-imposed target of 70%. For the last quarter, we had 80% of clients discharged with a favorable discharge outcome, so we exceeded the projection. And then we also again set 70% targets for reducing anxiety and depression scales. We use objective measures that are normed for ages 12 and above, and then we use the pediatric symptoms checklist for any clients that are 4 to 17. So for this last quarter, we had 74% of clients reduce problematic anxiety scores by 5 points or more, with an average point decrease of 10.2, and then 71% reduced problematic depression, with the average point decrease being 11.4. So, you know, it's just very satisfying with what we look for outcomes to track people from severe, moderately severe depression, severe anxiety, all these strong issues that they come to therapy with that are fully resolved from a course of care. And then pediatric symptoms checklist as well, lowered for youth with problematic ones.
And as you can see, our satisfaction surveys, again, are pretty normal. You have 70% feeling less stressed. That's after a screening, and 77% more hopeful about the future. And then you have your therapy outcomes, which 88% feel less stressed in therapy and 92% more hopeful. And 100% agree that their treatment needs are being met, and they all feel that their provider listened. So our outcomes are pretty
Important.
The Vero Drop-In Center, it's about the same statistics. We have about the same number of members and visits. The holidays is a little bit more just because they have a
It's
lot
the
of good
holidays.
parties. And again, our recidivism rate with them not going into the hospital or getting arrested, and we have mental health court peers in there, is going very well. Do you want me to talk about the revenue?
Go ahead.
Okay. You kind of see a decrease in revenue, and that's just because holidays. We had a lot of staff off, a lot of people are going out of town, so again, you're going to see a increase in that. Our accounts are doing good. You know, our revenues and expenses, and we were in a negative, but actually this month was very good, so we're kind of going in an upward trend, so we're happy. Do you want me to? No, this is your part. This is you.
This is my personal passion, taking care of our kids in our community, and I just want to congratulate you before I go through this for having the foresight and helping us fund this. While we have been doing the school violence and suicide prevention program, we were able to get some additional funding sources from the Indian River Community Foundation and some very generous donors that belong there. And we're very thankful to them. Because of that, we were able to see some kids that are outside of 9th grade, and also some kids at the charter school. We'll be doing some kids in St. Ed's, freshmen in February, and they want us to do seniors in May. So we're having a lot of outreach. Unfortunately, I guess I didn't have enough foresight as to how big the problem really is. We got a letter from Sharon Packard requesting that we meet next week to see additional grades in the public schools, including 10th through 12th, as well as seeing the middle school kids. So unfortunately, it is an unfortunate thing, but after the first week at Vero High, they requested that we keep one of our therapists on site at Vero Beach High School because of all the kids that needed to be seen. So it's a serious thing that we're addressing, but unfortunately we're still kind of chasing the whale. We haven't gotten in front of it yet, but we're doing our best. So as you can see, 159 charter high school students were seen in 12th grade. That was funded from other sources than the hospital taxing district. We're using it for the 9th grade students. We saw 590 Vero Beach High School students this past week. We will provide the program to 600 Sebastian River High School students on February 9th. As far as the total number of high school students who received additional interventions, meaning crisis intervention and therapy, 47 unduplicated students so far this year, 185 services provided in 3 months.
Just to share a comment from the Erica's Lighthouse facilitator, just the first day of presenting the program about depression awareness and suicide prevention was following the holidays. 7 youth approached the facilitator. 2 stated that they were psychiatrically hospitalized over the Christmas break.
Wow.
The need is staggering.
So the 47 unduplicated students are just in January?
3 months. Well, no, the
3
first-
months.
the
The quarter.
quarter. That's before we
Quarter,
even
okay.
went into Vero Beach High
That
School.
we're seeing.
There are probably 40 more in January right now alone.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
So, some
Yeah,
of the
that's-
numbers
I-
that we've been working with Dr.
Yeah.
Packard, Anne Marie and I have been talking with him, and we have a meeting next week to talk about what we can do and to come back to this group with what we can do. But the numbers of kids that are cutting themselves, that are suicidal, okay, it is going up exponentially, and the numbers that they gave us were in the first quarter, I think there was 174 children that they saw for cutting and/or suicide tries. And I think it was, I believe, Anne Marie, it was something like 54 that were Baker acted just in that 3-month period. So the situation is really quite staggering here.
It is. I really hope to tell you guys today that with the additional funding that we got from Indian River County, I wouldn't have to go before you next year like I promised you earlier that I wouldn't again for funding, but it looks like we may have to in the future. I don't know. But
Come back sooner than next year.
well,
Yes.
I don't know how that works, but I'm going to tell you this much. I'll promise you that I will do everything in my power, and my team is really good. They're really good. This team here is great, and the clinical team's really doing a great job, Jared, and inside the school. The kids really love him, and so whatever we have to do, we'll do.
So did you put someone in the school full-time?
Well, right now, we're scrambling and we're making sure someone is there, but we've had to cancel scheduled patients or disperse them to other people. You know, we've hired 2 additional therapists, but that may not be enough with everything that we have to do.
And we're working with Dr. Packard on that.
I'm sorry, would you say?
Need more staff?
We do need another staff or 2 now with Dr. Packard's letter to us in order for us to staff that. We're going to need to bring some more people in.
Be bashful when it comes to requesting funding if you need it. This is a very important program. We have to succeed.
Well, I appreciate that. And yeah, we're going to need additional staff. There's not a doubt. So right now we're scrambling to try and find a way to make it work for the time being. But I think it was really good that we did this program last year. I think that was, and you know, I just felt strongly about it. I didn't know as much about it as I know now, but this year makes me see the realization. Having been there for a year and then coming back now, it's unbelievable and it's sad.
I have a question. The children in crisis that you've been seeing, the 47 unduplicated students or whatever, are there any drug-related problems with these children? Or is it just the normal
It is more mental health issues.
mental health?
And, you know, some of them might have some slight dual diagnosis issues,
Okay.
but we're really seeing just more very.
You know, the reason why I'm asking is if they're drug-related, then there's a collaborative effort that needs to be done here with it, you
The
know.
majority of those students
abuse.
are
No, they're just,
their mental health. And that's what Dr.
Interesting.
Packard said. That's why they want us in the middle school now, because their counselors aren't geared up.
right. No, they're not.
Like
Nope.
we are as therapists. And I'm not sure what they're doing in the rest of the country yet with regard to this, but I think we're on the cutting edge here by doing this. I think we are getting ahead of the problem by giving this preventive services, and eventually, hopefully, we'll be able to decrease these numbers and show you some outcomes. Unfortunately, when it comes to mental health, outcomes are so subjective that I can't give you an outcome until there's been a problem, and I don't want there to be a problem, if that makes sense to y'all. I know it sounds like I'm
No.
being a politician, but I'm not.
You're just dedicated.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, we all agree we have a big problem here, and we need to solve it, and we need to come back to this group. But I think you'll find that this group is going to be very supportive when we have the right data and the right things to be able to support.
You guys have been in the past, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Do you want to go
Yeah,
forward?
just a cool thing, some of the students drew and wrote up there. Also some student surveys about how they appreciated, insightful advice, experience with a therapist, opened their eyes to depression in ways I never saw before. Great instructor, really involved the class. Activity made the Lighthouse information feel enjoyable. There's some funny ones that aren't up there, like I like Jared's beard, or you remember Jared, Tiny, the guy. And there was one that said, I hated the film, it was so boring, but the instructor was great. So,
There you go.
and then the last thing we have is, so far we've used $5,000 or $4,000 and change.
About December.
in
So you're going to see this increase because, of course, we were doing Erica's Lighthouse was with the 12th graders, so there was no billing to the hospital district. But this month at the Flick, we have a lot of billing, including the billing that Chrissy is going out and providing the one-on-one in the schools, and then the continued students that we're seeing in our outpatient and those coming in for screenings.
And then just the last one is a letter from Dr. Sharon Packard that we got from Chrissy and Jared, our therapists that were there. So it just said she was thankful, and she was, the cool thing is, what did she say? Thankful that students are reaching out, getting connected to support. You're truly providing incredible service. It's hard to believe that these teens would not likely have otherwise received support. I can't imagine trying to learn and navigate high school with the stress and pain you summarized below. Best, Sharon Packard. So I think that speaks for itself.
She has a lot of passion for her job as well,
She's
and for these kids, that's right, so.
We've
and,
enjoyed collaborating with her a great deal. She's
yeah.
very smart.
Yes. Any questions for them?
Thank you for working so hard for the kids in our schools and extending it to as many of the students that you can. Also, thank you to both Mary Beth and Anne Marie for meeting with the school board so that we can figure out a collaborative way to kind of navigate this and hopefully get in front of it at some point. So thank you guys for working so hard.
Are you also talking to other community-like communities to see what their,
Well, Brevard County just implemented Erica's Lighthouse in their schools as part of the
wonderful?
curriculum for
Okay, good. Because I think you can learn from one another, and there's always something you can glean from sharing.
We're,
Thank you.
we're an affiliate of Mental Health America. and
Yes.
So there are, I think 262 other mental health associations throughout the country. And some of them are doing this, but very few of us are, believe it or not. I think we're really leading the charge, and it's an important
Well,
charge.
what works is what should be used.
Yeah,
or
we're going to be
utilized.
sponsoring a teen walk in the springtime. They still have to
Right.
organize it and try to just kind of do more out there in the community and get these teens
Excellent.
able to do that.
Congratulations on all the work you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Now we have We Care. Shelley? Are you? Okay. Yes?
Well, thank you so much for having us. I want to start out with two offers that I hope that none of you will refuse.
Huh.
So the first is to say that Dr. Fountain is very willing to have you individually, one at a time, shadow with him for a day in clinic so you can see what happens. I think it will open your eyes. I think you will know a whole lot more at the end of a day than you did when you started. We do require that the patient give permission for someone else to be in the room. So it's individual, and we tell them there's no pressure. In the past, when I have had people shadow me, and I've had legislators and newspaper reporters and all kinds of people shadow me, most patients are very happy to say yes. Some don't. If they don't, we respect that. But I would really encourage that you call the clinic and leave a message for Dr. Fountain and say, any of these times work where I can come out. I really hope that you do that.
Thank you. I think
The
that-
second is that we have hot off the press the invitations for this year's Mardi Gras, which is the best party in town. Right, Anne-Marie?
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm going to give you each one, and you may already get one in the mail, and if you do, then pass it on to your friends.
I got mine in the mail today, so thank you very much. I absolutely share.
So Shelley's going to help me and give you each one, and as I said, if it's a duplicate, then you got to find someone to hand it to who will get tickets. And furthermore, you don't need an invitation to get tickets. If you go to our website, wecareofirc.org, and you follow the links to the Mardi Gras, the tickets are available online for any and all, and we are very interested in expanding our reach in the community. If you know people, we'd be glad to have you talk us up. Okay, on to the report. Do I have a clicker, or do you, what? Okay. This gives you the report of the visits of Dr. Fountain. These are only the visits of Dr. Fountain. These are not, and the specialty clinics that are held in a, quote, clinic, unquote, scenario, meaning that there's a dedicated time with one physician seeing a bunch of We Care patients. This is the tiny portion of what We Care does. Most of We Care's work is done by specialist physicians in their offices where they just work patients into their schedule. You will see that the numbers in October were much higher than November and December because Dr. Fountain had 10 days off in both November and in December. So those numbers will be higher. They'll be back to sort of the October range likely shortly. We had a marvelous windfall in that Dr. Yakov Gittin, who's a gastroenterologist at Cleveland Clinic, and his nurse practitioner, Dolores Smead, offered to do a GI clinic once a month, and they've now held 3 or 4 of those, and that has enormously reduced our backlog of GI cases. It's a fabulous offer. We can only hope it continues. It's just been marvelous. We also have a volunteer retired orthopedist who holds clinic at the We Care Clinic site 2 or 3 times a month. He is retired, does not have operating room privileges, so this is all office orthopedics only. It nonetheless is a huge help. We still have, unfortunately, a very large backlog in people who need surgery. So this is just the bar graphs of the visits. We still have waiting lists. Our waiting lists in 2020 is mid 300s. We have been as high as the mid 500s in years past. I think that having more physicians who are working in the Cleveland Clinic system being more accessible to us has been helpful in diminishing our backlogs, but we don't expect to ever be in a position of having no wait lists. This is the income and expense for the clinic operation, which again is the minor part. The district contributed $75,000 out of the $95,000 expense of operating the clinic, but that $75,000 leveraged an additional probably $250,000 in volunteer donated medical services. So that's the big number. 75,000, that's a small number. We do satisfaction ratings, which are pretty good, 4.95 out of 5. In my conversation with Anne Marie yesterday, we talked a little about metrics, and We Care is in a difficult situation in the sense that for me, as someone who has looked at medical research, you use a metric in order to show what has changed. You use statistics to show what you do, but a metric has a numerator and a denominator. They're both defined, and there are certain exclusions. You know, some things don't count in the numerator or don't count in the denominator, and then you do something, and then you see what changes. We're not in that business. The business of We Care is to have people who have no money, who need specialty care, would not otherwise have access to it, and we find a volunteer who will take care of them. So it's case by case. It's pretty hard for me to figure out a metric that fits that very well. I'm very willing to work with Anne Marie and with all of you, any of you offline. If you can think of something and it makes sense, we're glad to undertake it. But I've had a fair amount of experience with metrics, and you know, it's a square box in a round hole. It's just we kind of don't fit that model too well. What we are in the business of doing, as I said, though, is helping people, and each individual who we can assist, that's one more thing to the good, and that's what we look to do.
I think it would be interesting. I don't know if it's a metric or if it's a whatever, statistic or whatever, but you have people that come in, they have an issue or multiple issues, in many cases, I'm sure. And it would be interesting to know 2 things. How many get their issues actually taken care of, okay? I have this problem, you guys enabled them to find the right specialist, and they were taken care of, and they're good to go, okay? Because I don't know that from what I know how many are waiting, but I don't know how many are good.
Well,
And I'd also be interested in the time frame, like from the first time you saw them until they're good, okay, and you release them, I guess, is that?
So we can provide some statistics about how many people kind of we close out in a year, how many new referrals we have, how many people we kind of close out. That's fairly easy to get for you. We don't have it right now, but I think we can accumulate that.
I would like.
The in-process issue is full of bugs. And so we can get it for you, but the number of footnotes to that is going to be 2 pages long, because there are a million things that happen in the process. So for example, if we have someone who needs new knees orthopedically, they are going to be on that wait list a very, very long time.
However, if you go back to your list of people waiting to be taken care of by a specialist, you've got cardiology there. You don't wait months for cardiology. What is happening there? I mean, you got a problem. You got to be seen. So are there like...
No, well, so this list is not a...
finite?
No, it's not. It doesn't show you 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days. It's not a top-page list.
But I think that would be interesting, because
So-
we've seen that list before, and it scares me to think that there are people waiting to be seen by a cardiologist. It might be 6 months, or is it 2 days? I don't know.
Well, that's why I wonder, I get
Yeah,
a new
I
person
agree.
that comes in,
Yeah.
and how long does
Right.
that take? I mean, and is it,
So, well, so that what I was saying is that it's highly variable. So if someone's got a real heart problem, we get them taken care of one way or another, including that if it's really serious and it needs urgent attention, we send them to the emergency room.
Yeah, I think that those are...
So there's a fairly large number of people coming into the cardiology list, and there's a fairly large number who are seen every month and going out. And the cardiology, most of those people are not on that list for a year. It's not the same people. The list may always be 30, but it moves through. In orthopedics, the people who are on that list may be on it for quite some time.
Well, that's surgery, and that's specialized, and sometimes that's not
Well, it depends. So it depends upon what volunteers we have,
right.
what they're willing to do. It depends on how good we are at networking and twisting arms and begging and pleading and all that kind of stuff.
I
And it is
suspect
so
sometimes
variable.
it depends on the patient, too.
Well,
Because there are
there-
prerequisites for getting 2 new knees, if you would, that, I have friends who have not passed the prerequisites yet, who need it,
This is
so.
absolutely the case. So some of the people who are on lists for a long time are people where a surgeon has said, I will not operate on you until you lose 60 pounds, or until you quit smoking, or until your diabetes is under control.
Right.
And then Dr. Fountain tries to work with that patient, and sometimes things work out, sometimes it takes a long time or never. So that's why I said there would be so many footnotes.
Right.
I'm not sure it would tell you something useful, because there are all these variations.
Well, it would tell me something useful if I know in a month or a year's time how many people actually got completed and
We can do
versus
that.
what you're going through.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful too. I think that's a pretty good indication. It's maybe not a perfect metric, but it's a trend. But I also noticed that you said and I remember we had over 500 on the waiting list for various things. Now it's 300. That sounds like progress to me.
That's what I
That
told him
sounds like
yesterday.
something to celebrate.
Well, hopefully, they were seen
And
instead
not,
of
that's right.
the alternative.
Well, having Dr. Fountain,
All right, I stand corrected.
well, so no, I think that your surmise is correct. I don't have the numbers to give you today, but we'll start accumulating those. I think your surmise is correct. The reason that we ask you to provide money to operate the clinic and have Dr. Fountain there, or someone being Dr. Fountain there, is that it makes our ability to get referrals done far better. Because in the past, it was only the nurses calling to make referrals, or me in my spare time, or Dr. Nancy Baker in her spare time. And now Dr. Fountain is there, and it's his job to make the referrals, and he's on the phone to doctors constantly. And I think it's made a difference.
Right.
And that was the intent.
And I would think that Cleveland Clinic's financial policy has also made it somewhat better.
So there are two parts of that. The first part is that it has really been a wonderful thing for our community because the Cleveland Clinic financial assistance policy is far more generous than what we have had before. So that enables more people to get care. So that's been a really good thing. Another good thing has been that if someone needs care and qualifies for their program, then the physicians in their network, it's much easier access. I'm not going to tell you it's automatic, but it's far easier access than we have previously had as well. Now the side that you don't see is that WeCare not only provides referral services, but WeCare provides case management. And it's kind of a 360-degree wraparound thing. So the coordinator nurses and Dr. Fountain are doing a tremendous amount of case manager work. And I think we've talked before that, you know, it may take 20 or 35 phone calls of getting 18 little pieces of things all set up so that this person gets what they need. Because they need this done, and they need a lab done, and they need an x-ray done, and they need a scan done, and they need a clearance done, and they need a this, and they need a that, and they need an anesthesiologist, and and all those little pieces have to be lined up. And that case management, which also includes the patient who needs to lose weight or quit smoking or, you know, whatever, that is a wraparound service that I think is very beneficial. The primary care sites that refer us indigent patients are not able to undertake that kind of intensive work very easily.
That kind of intensive what?
That kind of intensive work for case management, they are not able to undertake that. For example, Treasure Coast has a patient navigator, but their navigation is just financial. That's it. So there's not this kind of social work case management stuff.
I guess I have not understood that from either Treasure Coast or Whole Family.
I thought they all had
Yes.
case management.
Well,
So-
okay, well, all right, great, Vicki. So Vicki, let me talk to you offline because that would help unload us and we could do more. Yeah, we've been trying. But sometimes because the financial assistance makes people able to access the hospital directly without WeCare, then those patients may face certain difficulties with case management, and they certainly face difficulties when they get bills from non-participating physicians, which they will. So anyone who needs that kind of referral is going to need some kind of imaging study done, and the radiologists are not part of financial assistance. They are part of WeCare. So that when patients go direct through Cleveland Clinic, then they get a lot of things, but they don't get everything that WeCare does. So on the whole, it's been a fabulous thing, Madam Chairman. It's really been a very helpful thing for the people we serve. But it's like everything, it's complicated.
Thank you for meeting with Anne Marie yesterday. I know that she had a lot of questions from several trustees that I think she brought to you, so I appreciate you all being able to meet together. I think that was super helpful. I'm with Alan. I thought I saw progress from like the 595 that we had seen before down to 305, but I'm going to take Anne Marie's suggestion also that it may not.
That's still got to be progress.
Yes.
I like to think it's progress. That was exciting news. And so it sounded to me like you guys got through a lot of the backlog waitlist books, were able to either communicate with some of those previous patients, see if they still needed you, or follow up with them in some way. Is there an average wait time to get seen per specialty? Do you have?
It's highly variable.
It's highly variable.
Highly variable.
Okay. Is there any way to track that, like to how long somebody sits on that wait list, like
Well, y-
Mary Beth was?
We can track it, but it doesn't help us to track it.
For discipline, we could. if we
Yeah,
could
I
find
just
that
think
for
break-
So, yes, we have that information,
Okay.
and it doesn't help a thing.
You know, you also have to remember that in some specialties, there are only a few.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
there are more in another specialty. So this few would have to see all of those people. And I think that might be part of the problem, I don't know.
And part of what we talked about was your original question, which was when they are billing us and asking us, I mean, we saw this person on this day, we saw them on this day, this day, this day, what specialty they're coming to them to see. And we had a conversation about that yesterday, that apparently that's difficult because they don't always know. Either the person might be referred there for one problem, but once they get there, they define varying other problems that they have. But still, I think with the specialty known, what are you going through this cycle for? Like Mary Beth said, you know, you're being called in here today, and then we're getting you to someone, or you're waiting because we can't find that person, or whatever it is, and then once they come out. So we tried to,
So what I'm saying is that
he's saying that's
we-
difficult to.
try and be
sort of-
industrious to get people who need care, who are We Care patients, we try and get them their care. And sometimes that's easy, and it happens pretty quick, and sometimes it's not at all easy, and it happens slow or not at all. There's some things we simply can't do at all. We have no endocrinologists who participate in We Care. We just don't, so that's not something that we're able to do.
You don't
We do not.
have an endocrinologist
That is
that
correct.
participates in We Care.
That's correct.
Have many in the-
Interesting. Well, we have a few.
So what I'm saying is that it doesn't help us in managing our program to know what the age trial balance is of how long someone's been on a list. It just doesn't help us. Our job is, as best we can, get each patient seen at the earliest opportunity available. And
And it might not help you do yours, but it might help us in a conversation with the specialists and with the hospital to be able to look at it by specialty and say, you know, we have this, these are taking on average 6 months, 9 months, or whatever. To have that conversation and say,
It's more
is-
for the marketing of the program and getting the physicians involved. If they know that there's a wait list.
I wish I could tell you, no, Karen, I wish I could tell you that was true. People volunteer when they are willing to volunteer, and telling them that there's a need is not usually the factor that tips the case.
Well, you have to understand also what they're all going through. I have to wear a couple of hats because I've been married to a physician. So I have to appreciate what the healthcare system is doing to our professionals also, or the pressure. So, Dr. Saber, you share the space or the building with TCCH. So there's a positive change program that I think Vicki is very aware of, and TCCH takes advantage of. Pat Nipper is in charge from the VNA of the positive change program. You're talking about some people that are non-compliant. Do you refer people to the positive change? Do you have that ability to interact with the positive change program?
That's a great question.
that's a good thought.
Do you
were
like
only
that question?
introduced to
Like
the,
that question.
Good.
we were only recently introduced to the Positive Change Program over the past couple of months. And Pat and I have talked about my attending their meetings and getting more involved, and it looks like it's a wonderful program. Unfortunately, because of my hefty schedule,
Right.
I have not been able to do that, but I hope I will be able to do that very shortly in the future.
There's two different things I think we're talking about here. The one is the weekly meeting, is it weekly
No, that's
now?
the
That's the
sort of
collaborative thing. The other one, the positive change program, is for the patients.
It's taking a patient who needs to give up
Right.
smoking, or needs to lose weight, or needs to do the sugar, and these people are put in the positive change program.
And it's
Um,
run by the VNA.
The VNA runs it, but there should be that communication. You're in the area where it's available, and it's, we'll work on this.
So I wasn't aware of that. Maybe Dr. Saver knows a little bit more about that, but I wasn't aware of it yet.
Pat Nipper can get in touch with you. She does a wonderful job, and she's a great communicator.
It
So.
would seem like
Yes,
if
thank you.
people that you say you see are excellent candidates for that specific program too,
Right.
and they're having good
Yes.
success,
Right.
good success.
So I have another question.
Go ahead.
I was noticing and going through, like, from our previous meetings and workshops, and then talks that you all had, that you all have a volume decrease still. Are those because you're resolving your patients' problems? Are they going
Those are because
somewhere else?
what I mentioned earlier.
or-
Dr. Fountain had 10 days of leave in November and 10 days of leave in December. He did not have 10 days.
I'm looking at a bigger picture over like the last few years. I see the decrease in the wait list, so I'm just wondering if you've been able to resolve like the lowering of volume, the less volume. Is that because you're resolving the patient's issues? Are they going somewhere else? Are they no longer on the wait list? Or I'm just trying to, understand the volume decrease.
Can you give me the numbers you're looking at?
Perhaps working with the Cleveland Clinic physicians.
Yeah,
has helped,
it could be the Cleveland Clinic.
Because
Are
they
there other?
Can you give me the exact numbers, because I'm just not clear what you're talking about?
Is it Jenny's draft? So
Yeah.
it is in his program.
Okay.
This is probably, do you want to see this? Can you give one to them? I mean, they ought to look at this same information
So
we have.
maybe we can bring this up at a different meeting, and,
Yeah, maybe.
or maybe you guys can talk about it.
Would you like that information? You can take that.
Yeah.
That
I-
top is very
I know
similar
where I
to
can
the
get
draft
another
you
copy.
have at yours.
Then I will hold
This is
off on
just
my
the last
question.
one.
Maybe Anne Marie and Jennifer can meet with him and go over the information that was put together, and we can
Right.
discuss
I
it later.
think we have more time at a chairman
Yeah.
meeting or something, we can have a.
That sounds great.
Okay, now you have our information, we have your information. Is there anything else you wanted to go through?
I would just like to say that the We Care program has always worked on a really sparse number of employees, just enough to keep things moving and keep them moving well. Administratively, as far as an individual in the office to do matrix and keep tabs on and try to get some data, some really good data, and analyze it and that kind of thing, is something that we've discussed doing, but it hasn't been top priority. So I think that some of the questions that you have as we sit down and look at these things closer, and I think not only you're interested in them, but other people as well, that we should be able to, if we decide that we're going to spend a little more on that kind of individual. I'm not saying we are or we aren't, but hopefully we'll be able to have more time to provide you with the kind of information that you need. Because right now our nurses have to keep track of those issues, and nurses are usually nursing. So.
Well, one thing, because you said you're trying to up your donor list and that type of thing too. A lot of donors are going to say, well, what are your successes? So, I think really saying we have resolved this many people's issues is a tremendous selling point for somebody who would like to give you money. So I don't think it would be.
Who's chairing your
Useless.
foundation now? Oh, of course.
Okay,
Of course.
okay.
Well, I think that we respect what you all are doing, think it's a really valuable service for the community. The district, this is my opinion, you can correct me if you think this is wrong, has been a ally in getting We Care funding from the beginning. And we continue to do that. So I think the suggestions that Mary Beth has, we're just trying to get things to be able to communicate to people why we want to do this and why it's working well. And we want to keep doing it. I don't think there's any reservation about funding We Care. We just would like to see some information that helps us understand how many people are being helped and how they're being helped. And I think your suggestion about us visiting and shadowing is an excellent one. You offered that to me a month or two ago. I have not yet taken you up on that, but it's not that I forgot about it. I'm thinking about it. Now you're going to prod me. I'll do it probably sooner than I would have. But we just like more information. We're trying to be an ally to you, not anything else.
Well, and help find other sources of donations in that too. We've got the queen of donations over here, so.
Right. No, there's no question that there are grants out there, and letting people know what you do. A lot of people do not
Right.
really, because
That's
there's
right.
not a lot of marketing, because you all are taking care of patients.
Right.
And you don't have a paid marketing person. I know. But your board needs to work on that, because that's what board people do. Nevertheless, I do think, though, that this program, I think it has seen success. And I do believe that there are less people waiting in line because there's more cooperation, perhaps just with the Cleveland Clinic physicians alone. Remember when we talked to Dr. Mackett? We had that whole thing going there for a while. So I think there's a big awareness. I'm surprised that there are specialties out there that there is not a participant. I'm a little disappointed in that as a healthcare person. But, well, especially because my husband was a We Care physician as a urologist. So, but I think there's hope, and I think, you just have to keep on doing what you're doing, because what you're doing is helping community, and that's what it's all about, the vulnerable people out there. I mean, so you're doing a great job. And anything we can do to help, you just have to. I think what Mary Beth is saying, I know, I'm too lengthy in what I'm saying, but I think we need the statistics. We need to know, what are your success rates? Who's getting seen? Who is not getting seen, and why aren't they getting seen? And just seeing numbers doesn't really help me.
No.
Right? So there's reasons for it all.
We're not picking on you.
No, we're not picking, we're trying to help.
Believe me, we ask everybody for, right? Yeah, believe me, we ask everybody, so. Thank you for your time tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Don't go away, Dr. Saber. No, I mean, you're doing a great job, so don't go
Oh,
away.
tonight you can. Okay, any unfinished business, folks? Any new business?
Yes, I have an announcement.
New business.
The World Health Organization named 2020 the Year of the Nurse. So every time you see a caregiver, whether it's a registered nurse or it's just a caregiver, please say, thank you very much. This is the Year of the Nurse, and where would we be without our nurses and our caregivers? So that's my statement.
You're here.
Right.
Any other new business? Any other business?
I have some other business.
Yes.
I wanted to give you guys a quick update about the patient advocate position at the Gifford Health Center. There were 3 potential candidates that were all highly qualified, and TCCH was gracious enough to hold a group interviewing process. And it actually was really interesting. I felt very honored that I was included in that. Anne Marie was there, and I know it's not the norm to do those kinds of things, so it was really interesting to participate. The candidates were able to interact with each other, and there were members from the community there, members from the hospital district, myself and Anne Marie were there. I thought it was highly successful. And out of that, they had 2 candidates that were from the Gifford community, and a retired Army chaplain that also was a candidate but did not live in the Gifford community, but is actually pastoring at one of the churches in the greater Gifford area. And out of all three of those candidates, they were able to extend an offer, and it was accepted to Catherine Allen. And so we now have a wonderful patient advocate in that position who is learning the ropes, and it's very exciting. And our next meeting for the Gifford Advisory Committee, Gifford Health Center Advisory Committee, is going to be on the 21st of January, so hopefully I'll have more updates for you then.
I would like, Kate, since we now have Google Calendar, okay, and maybe all of us do, maybe all of us don't, but can we put those types of things on the Google Calendar so that we can have
That'd
those?
be a good idea.
Yeah, I think those
That would be very helpful.
Gifford Health Council, yeah, all of those types of things. If we could
Advisory
put them on there,
That would be great.
okay, and then we can visit, we can
I think any
plan.
meetings that the hospital district participates in some way, shape, or form would be
The
great to see
Pat Nipper
on the calendar.
meeting should be on there, so, okay?
I agree.
And then
Thank
we
you.
can have access to all that. That's great. Thank you, Tracy. That's exciting. The thing I didn't say about the United Against Poverty grant opening is that also I want to thank Vicki for, they are having a same-day health clinic in there now, and that will be also part of the grand opening, and so I think that's very exciting too. So
That's Saturday,
that's Saturday,
10
the
to
20,
or
okay. Yes, it is.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're all gonna have, whoever participates is gonna have to go through that. If
Well,
it-
no,
they're
it's
giving
much
us-
more so for the medical,
well,
yeah.
Exactly.
Any other comments, thoughts? Any public comment? Hearing none, we will adjourn for January. Thank you all.